In the constantly changing world of fundability, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending, how do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Welcome to the Get Fundable podcast with your host, Merrill Chandler.
Welcome, everybody. Merrill Chandler here, your host of the Get Fundable podcast and your guide to the Get Fundable universe. In this episode, we're going to be talking about another massive landmine for those who are in debt, feeling a little overwhelmed by debt, and who are looking for debt relief. If you're looking for debt relief, you got to stay away from anything that says debt consolidation. If you've got good credit still, debt consolidation loan may still be viable for you, but debt consolidation, save money, cut your payments in half, any of those things, we're going to do a deep dive right now into stay away from them. Run away as fast as you can. I'll see you in just a minute. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, as I said in the intro, this, you know that I have a cold, dark, black place in my heart for financial predators. All right. It does not make me happy, and we're one more time. We're going to explore what the beliefs are out there, why borrowers are susceptible, and the practitioners, the operators, the shysters, the evildoers out there who are willing to take advantage of your of borrower ignorance, and more importantly, how they're willing to put into tiny, extremely tiny fine print the truth, and then assume the worst about you. Who am I talking about in this episode? Well, we're talking about, as the name implies, deceptive practices of loan or debt consolidators. All right? They call themselves loan or debt consolidators because there is a term that's been used since the 70s called a consolidation loan. And so when so many people will group the word loan with debt. Hey, I got a loan from Bank of America. Well, it's actually a credit card, but they just use the term loan to mean money was given to them. A credit instrument was approved, right? So as you know me by now. It's all about the correct use of language so that we know what's actually happening out there. And it's never more important than what is going on with debt consolidation, because a consolidation loan to consolidate your debts is radically, violently, horribly, tragically different than debt consolidation, as the providers out there will say, and they'll deceive you with their fine print. So let's do an example. For those of you who are watching, I got some graphics from a website for you. For those of you who are listening, I'm going to walk you through this so you understand what's happening. First of all, in principle, when you can go to a website that says debt consolidation. Now, most of us, the vast majority of us, listen for the word debt consolidation, and we're looking for a debt consolidation loan, right? No, that is not usually the case for the people who are advertising debt consolidation. So the first thing they'll do is say, get debt help in just 2 minutes. They're looking for people who are overwhelmed in debt, who are 70, 80, 90% utilization on their cards. Or because most people don't consolidate debt, even using a legitimate loan for a mortgage, that's a refi. An auto loan, that's a refi. Most debt consolidation focuses on your revolving debt. All right. So the operators come to you and say, relief is coming for those who are overwhelmed by debt. And then they say on this website that they'll give you a chance. How much debt are you in? Right now, that's just a ploy. It doesn't matter how much debt you're in, because debt consolidation companies use a principle of what I have called for 30 years a homegrown Chapter 13 bankruptcy. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by homegrown? Well, a Chapter 13 bankruptcy is where you take all your debts, you go to a bankruptcy court, and you present all of your debts to your attorney. Presents all your debts to the bankruptcy trustee, someone who's in charge of making sure everybody has a fair payout here in the bankruptcy court, and then they'll say, all right. Let's say you have 10 lenders, 10 creditors. Let's pay everybody 50 cents on the dollar. So instead of owing $20,000, now you owe $10,000. And then the bankruptcy court says, I'm going to have you pay the court once a month, $500 a month towards this $10,000. All right. And then at the end of that payoff, once you've paid off the $10,000, remember, they reduced it by 50%. From $20,000 of debt, every creditor, let's say, agreed to a 50% settlement. So you pay your $500 a month towards this debt, and when you are done paying the debt, then the credit reporting clock ticks out another 7 years before that Chapter 13 bankruptcy comes off your credit report. So there's a 3 to 5 year debt payoff of that $10,000, and then there's 7 years that it's reported, broadcasting your reputation to every future lender that you had a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Chapter 7s, we've gone in previous episodes. Chapter 7 basically erases most or all of your debt. This is a Chapter 13. So guess what? Guess what the creative predators did? They said, let's mimic this exact same process, but let's not go to bankruptcy court. Let's negotiate with the creditors themselves. Okay. And here's where the mess begins. So the principle is similar to a Chapter 13. That's why I call it homegrown, is that these operators, these debt consolidation companies, will contact every one of your debt your debt holders, right? Your creditors, and they'll say, yeah, let's 60%, 50%. They'll reduce how much you owe. And the creditors, especially if you're already behind 30, 60, 90 days behind, or you have super, super high utilization, they will say, all right, we'll accept this new payment. So to make it easy, let's just say it's also 50%. So you owe 20 grand, you go to a debt consolidation company, they tell you, I'm going to pay, send me, instead of a bankruptcy check, sending one check a month to the bankruptcy court, they say, send to this consolidation company a check for $500, and we will pay each one of the creditors that you owe. And after you have paid all of those creditors, then you'll be out of debt. All right. There are so many landmines here, you guys, because the first thing is that the licensed attorneys who take you through bankruptcy are obligated to tell you about the negative credit that's going to happen as a result of doing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Debt consolidation operators aren't so forthcoming in telling you the truth, because here's what's happened. Let's say let's say that you've been paying that debt faithfully for a year or two, and it's at 70 or 80% utilization. You're just tired of it. And you think in your mind, you say, you know what? I want to can I just have one payment instead of paying these 5, 7, 8, 10, 12 different creditors? Can I just pay one payment? So we think that's easier. And so that perceived lightening of the load, the psychic drag in our minds to pay one bill instead of many, that makes it's very tempting. We'll get to the ad in a minute, but we see an ad and it says we can reduce your payment sometimes by half or nearly by half or basically by half. We can reduce your payments. And we're like, I want to reduce my payments. Oh man, that would be so great. And then we read along a little further where it says that that you'll only have to make one payment instead of 7 or 10 or however many creditors you have. So we're thinking this is a win. But let's say in this case, you've been faithfully making payments. You're still paid as agreed, but you're overwhelmed in debt. So the psychology for these guys is they'll say, we'll negotiate lower payments on your behalf. But since most borrowers don't know how this game is played, they think that's a good deal. They think this debt consolidation company is hooking them up. I'm doing you a solid, says the debt consolidation company. Not true in the least, because the second they start negotiating, sometimes a creditor won't negotiate until you're late. And so the debt consolidation person will either tell you to go late to get better terms on the negotiation, or won't tell you that you have to go late and will withhold payment or otherwise until they have the best strategic advantage to negotiate with the creditor. Here's the problem. The second you make a less than full payment, let's say you owe $100 on a credit card, and the debt consolidation company gets you for $50. That's the new payment. The second you make that $50 payment instead of the $100, you are no longer paying as agreed to the original terms of your credit card agreement. You're not paying as agreed. So what happens? They give you a 30-day late. And then that 30-day late turns into a 60 and a 90, all the way to 180 before it gets, and then they will put a notation saying in credit counseling, which means you're working with a debt consolidator. Now, remember, everything on the credit report, first of all, you're ruining your relationship with the current lender, but you're also broadcasting on your credit profile a negative reputation, a negative financial reputation that you're now in a debt consolidation and using a debt consolidation firm, or many times they call it debt counseling. No, I'm not saying that not to do this. I'm saying know what the hell you're doing if you decide to do it, because sometimes we could be strapped. Sometimes there's no other way. But I'm telling you what the process is so that you will know that the financial evil and landmines you're going to run into for the next 7 to 10 years of your financial life. So once you have made this lower payment, back to my narrative, once you've paid this lower payment of 50 instead of 100, you are now, they're going to call it 30 days late because you're not paid as agreed, and they're going to start docking your profile. Now imagine 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 accounts all being included in this debt consolidation process is going to trash your profile. Trash it. And most people believe, if I go 30 days late on one account, then I might as well go 30 days late on every account because my score is going to crash. And one more time, we are seduced by the principle that your score even freaking matters. Because one 30-day late may tank your score 50 or 100 points. Yes, it's true. But scores don't approve you, guys. They don't. They're in charge of your rate and your interest rate and your term, and in charge of the amount of future loans and credit limits. What matters is that you went late on 1, not 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 accounts and just threw your whole financial reputation in the trash. So we don't care about score, you guys. We care about how you look and your financial reputation to lenders. That's what we care about. And lenders, that's what they care about. They would rather have 1 30-day late than 3 5, 7 charge-offs because you just threw your hands up in frustration and gave up. No, there are options. There are options. So every time you work with one of these debt consolidators, they're literally going to trash your credit for you. And then if you pay less than full balance, more and more and more lenders, including if you put something into a bankruptcy and don't pay it off, more and more lenders are having what I call institutional memory, meaning that while something may fall off your credit report after 7 years or be deleted through this dispute strategies, the lender remembers that you didn't pay them in full. You did not give back every dime that they gave you, and they will not lend to you again, even if your credit is an 800 plus credit profile years down the road. If you owe them money, many of them, there's American Express is notorious for institutional memory. Chase, Wells, the top tier banks, many of the top tier 2 banks have institutional memory. They do not forget that you owe them money and are unwilling to lend you in the future. So if you have a bunch of credit cards and you burn those credit cards and you trusted these organizations to say, you know what, let's do 50 cents on the dollar. You're like, yes, I'd rather pay 10,000 than 20,000. And you think you're skating. Well, and then later on down the road, you want to buy a house, buy a car, get credit card, much less start and finance and fund a business. It is likely that you're not going to be able to deal with the lenders with the best rates and the best terms, right? And who are willing, if you have a good financial reputation, who are willing to give you the most amount of money for each funding approval. So you guys, debt consolidators. So so for those of you who are looking, I want you to see this first, the first slide literally says, hey, see if you qualify. And then they have you check how much debt you're in, right? When you click the button, get out of debt, the next thing that you see is they're like, well, how late are you? And are you behind on your payments? It says, yes, more than 60. Now, remember, 60 is how FICO classifies a serious delinquency. There are 30 days that are not serious delinquencies, especially if you only have one, right? And then they're saying, no, I'm not behind on my payments, because that gives these operators an awareness of what type of service to sell you. Right. All right. And then once you click, let's say you click on 30, they're going to ask you for information. So I went through this process prior to this recording. And what's hilarious is I filled out my information. But if you'll notice down at the if you're watching, I'm going to read it for those of you who are listening. Notice what it says. It says, Freedom Financial Network and its affiliated companies included but not limited to Debt Freedom Relief, LLC, Freedom Financial Asset Management, LLC, doing business as Freedom Plus, and also DBA Consolidation Plus and Lendage LLC, and any of our other service providers. They're literally, one company has 4 DBAs. They're all marketing to get you, the unsuspecting borrower, to trash your credit. And that's no bueno. But so I filled out my information. Within 5 minutes, I had a darling Filipino operator on my phone asking me questions. right? Now I immediately asked to be removed from their list. But the very final, the very final of this process, and this is they're gathering information so they can sell you debt consolidation services, right? Oh, and by the way, foreign operators don't have to be as self-disclosing as United States-based operators due to loops in the international laws, marketing, disclosure laws, etc. So now the final one you run into, I highlighted specifically, then they ask for your address. And I didn't give them any more information because they asked for a date of birth. If they have my date of birth, if you'll notice in blue, for those of you who are watching, it says you're authorizing to provide written instructions to Freedom Debt Relief under the Fair Credit Reporting Act to obtain information from your personal credit report or other information from Experian for the purposes of debt settlement. So they're going to pull a credit report. If you don't know what to look for, if you don't know what they're trying to do, you've now got an inquiry. It could be a soft pull, but don't count on it. Depending on the operator, that you've authorized them to pull a credit report. They don't care about your fundability. They don't care about your inquiries. They want to sell you. They want to sell you the opportunity for you to pay them to destroy, not ruin, destroy your credit profile. Destroy. So there are so many ways to get this done that doesn't have to destroy your whole profile. Yes, you're going to lose points if you go late or pay less than full balance. But please remember, you have got to check out my boot camp for a huge revelation on all of this. GetFundableBootcamp.com is what we spend 2 days going over the principles of fundability, what to do, what to avoid, the landmines and how to miss them. And also, if you would like, for all you listeners out there that are on the treadmill or biking or running, you want to see the graphics that we showed, go to getfundablepodcast.com and you'll be able to see, even in our blog, those will be presented so you can read it if you're not watching it. GetFundablePodcast.com is where you can find the written and video version of what we've been discussing today. Now, you guys, I know I get excited. I know I yell at the financial universe because there are just so many shysters out there, so many people who are trying to use your financial ignorance, your financial lack of understanding against you to pillage and plunder your pocketbook, your bank account, and most importantly, your fundability, your credit profile. So, for our live viewers, like, love, shout out, share this with people you know that may be in debt, that may be struggling. Please share this. Let's save the soul of their borrower profile. Okay. And for my podcasters, I love your devotion to binging this. Please comment, share, subscribe so that you can see what the next thing we're talking about to protect you from all of the landmines that are out there that are intentionally set to destroy you and your funding opportunities. This is Merrill Chandler, your host of the Get Fundable podcast and your guide to the minefield of the funding universe. I'm here to help. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Get Fundable podcast. Please leave comments because Merrill would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit getfundable.com to read our blog, get important links, join our community, and much, much more, like ordering Merrill's tell-all book that is changing the world, The New F Word. And you got to tell your friends about this podcast. because we want them to get fundable too.